because they were afraid that people would be too concerned. What the scientists said was that there were so many anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field that they believed that within 25 years the magnetic fields of the Earth would not only move, but would switch its polarity, meaning that the North Pole would become the South Pole and the opposite. Then about 8 or 9 months ago, these same scientists went back on the internet and made an even stronger warning. They said that the anomalies had become so great that they were expecting the possibility of a magnetic pole shift any minute. What science knows as fact is that about 13,000 years ago, there was a physical pole shift. The pole shift coincided with the other end of where we are right now in the precession of the equinoxes, which would be about 13,000 years ago, exactly on the opposite end of this cycle from where we are right now. They believe that Hudson Bay was the site of the North Pole before this axis shifted. Then a little less than 26,000 years ago, at exactly the very point we happen to be within at this moment in the precession of the equinoxes, the end of time, where we are right now, close to December 21st, 2012, the Earth's physical poles shifted a second time. And if that is not shocking enough, what science knows is that when the Earth's physical axis shifts to a new location, it only takes 20 hours, less than 1 day. This is not the Mayans saying this. This is the scientific world has documented this. You wake up one morning, and in a single day, your world is completely transformed. But back to the magnetic poles. What science has also noticed is that directly before the Earth's physical pole shift, there is always a magnetic pole shift, followed by a period of no magnetic fields. It is shut down completely. What is now only a theory, because of modern man has never been alive within, modern man anyway, has never witnessed this kind of thing. But this theory is the only theory that comes to really explain how this is possible. If you think about it, the Earth is massive, and that to change the axis of the Earth would require a huge amount of energy. And that's almost impossible. Scientists have never been able to figure this out, of how this is possible. The amount of energy would be just, it would be like the moon hitting the Earth, something of this kind of level. And then, so how can the Earth possibly move its axis somewhere? The amount of energy that would take is just stupendous. It would be as though a moon had hit the Earth, or something of that nature would take place. But it doesn't. The Earth has shifted its axis hundreds and hundreds of times over the last few 100 million years. And so science could never figure this out. They didn't know how this was possible. And then a theory came up recently, not very long ago, 20, 30 years ago, I believe. And the theory was this. There is a crust on the Earth. It's only 20, 30, 40 miles thick. It's not very thick. And underneath that is called the mantle. And there is an upper mantle, which is that connects the crust to the inner part of the Earth. And this upper mantle is made out of rock. However, what the scientists have discovered is that if the magnetic field of the Earth goes to zero, disappears completely, which is what they expect to happen very soon, then after about 2 weeks, this rock formation that is all around the Earth turns to a liquid. It's like oil. And so now the outer crust of the Earth is completely free to spin in any direction it wants. And so it would still take a great amount of energy to move that, but nothing like it would require to move the entire Earth to a new axis. And so, how do I say this? What they believe is going to happen is you now go to the South Pole, and the ice on the South Pole is not perfectly centered. It's off-center. It's a massive amount of ice, miles, about 2.5 miles high or so. It's a huge amount of ice. In fact, if that ice were to melt, it would raise the oceans, the entire world's oceans, I believe, close to 200 feet. It's a lot of water. And so that mass, when the surface of the Earth, the crust of the Earth, is now free to rotate, it's off-center. And they believe it will move toward the center of balance, and when it does, the crust moves with it. So the world scientists have now calculated where they believe, they have predicted where they believe the axis of the Earth is going to go, which is almost identical to Edgar Cayce. Interesting enough. Edgar Cayce says it'll be 16 degrees into Russia in this particular place, and the mathematical scientists have calculated about 17 degrees into Russia, into almost exactly the same place. And so if it's true, we don't know, but this is a theory. Nobody has ever seen this happen. At least no modern man has. Now, the shifting of the poles of the axis, however it is to take place, it is this world that the Maya wish to speak to you about, for they know it well. They remember their past, and they remember both of these pole shifts that science has recorded in recent times. According to the Maya, they lived through both of them, and they have been on Earth for at least 26,000 years. Science cannot contradict that because they don't know where they came from and they don't know anything about them. But according to Don Alejandro, in the last pole shift, millions of people died simply because they didn't understand what was happening. If they only knew and understood the situation, they could have easily transformed their experience into something of strength and grace and beauty. But Don Alejandro says that if they don't understand what is occurring and enter into fear, they can easily die. And so he wants to talk to you about this. Don Alejandro also speaks about 30 hours of darkness that happens at this moment when the poles shift. There are some people out there, I'm aware, that speak about 3 days of darkness. The Mayans say no, it's not 3 days, it's 30 hours. He says that, Don Alejandro says, that everything goes black and one cannot even see the stars at night. Or in other words, we go blind. He says it is during this period that so many people died because of fear that entered into their experience. But he also says that if one were to not worry and simply stay still and just relax, everything returns back, your sight comes back, everything returns to normal, and it only takes 30 hours. So this is another thing that the Mayan people want you to understand is during this change, don't go into fear. It's nothing to be afraid of. But of course, after the poles shift, where you are located on the surface of the Earth is now probably completely different relative to the equator than before the shift began. You are now probably living in a new and different environment located on the Earth. And this must immediately be evaluated. You've got to figure out where you are, or you could die just from extreme cold or extreme heat. This is another thing he wanted you to know. Now, one piece of the Mayan prophecy that has been told, which the world calls doomsday, but there is something far more important. How do we understand how to be during a physical pole shift and directly afterwards? For the Maya, it is a vibration that comes from within your heart. And this vibration is in perfect resonance to the heart of the earth, the heart of the sun, and the heart of the universe. If we learn to live within this vibration, the living earth will make certain that we extend ourselves into the new world.